Welcome to CS 105.1, where I talk about sports and movies with good vibes. And we got some good vibes because the Nuggets got their second win. Let's dive into it. I couldn't do this podcast without my amazing equipment, so I'd like to give a shout out to Røde for the Røde Pod Mic USB, as well as Insta360 for the webcam link that I'm using, as well as Nanlite for all of the studio lighting that I have here. What's up, everyone? The Nuggets finally won. We're back, baby. We're back. Gotta wear my championship hat, man. Finally 2 wins. Let's go. It's so exciting. These wins aren't very pretty. They're pretty gruesome and aggressive and gritty, but they're getting it. So the Nuggets won against the Nets tonight. They win, 144 to 139. Got my stats are over here right now because they're charging. But yeah, in another overtime game. And I'm going to get into it a little bit, not like it's happy to get a win, always happy to get a win, but there are things that are a little bit concerning and that are a little bit frustrating. And so, but I'll get into it a little here, So my first takes of the game was the game was very aggressive, and the refs were definitely allowing a lot of fouls to go uncalled on both sides. I will play devil's advocate on both sides, but it seemed like the Nets were getting away with a little bit more than the Nuggets were. And you can see that on the stat line. Like, the Nuggets have way more fouls overall than the Nets did. And there was some pretty egregious fouls that were not called on the Nuggets or for the Nuggets. And then there was some that were not called on the Nets. Like, freaking Dennis Schroeder on the fourth quarter totally kicked out in a shot, and he got the foul for him instead of it being reversed. You can't kick your leg out like that, and for some reason they went with the Nets on that one. Finally, Malone got a challenge in, but it was unsuccessful, and it was just about this specific thing of Dennis kicking his leg out. But the refs were definitely letting the players play, which can be good, but then the thing that's frustrating about it is when it's inconsistent, when there's like little ticky-tack calls being called out, fouls getting called out, but then major ones not. Like, you gotta pick one side or the other. Like, you're either letting them play or you're gonna call this like very like to the T. And that was kind of frustrating. The Nuggets once again were struggling. Their bench is really depressing of how bad they are sometimes. But one bench player stuck out. I'll get to him later on. Still getting some bench woes. They need to rely on the bench, but the bench is being so unreliable, and I blame Calvin Booth a lot for that. He has not been well in trying to build a decent bench. He's been trying to get players in that he thinks are good, but he's not focused on the brand of basketball that Nuggets have. And so these kids come in and they're not meshing well and they're not maturing enough. You got the same aged kids playing in other teams who are elevating and they're helping out their team. I mean, it's just kind of frustrating with Calvin Booth and how he's running the front office, because I'm a Malone guy and I 100% stand by Malone. He's on the ground. He's boots on the ground, whereas Calvin Booth just doesn't. I don't think he's like kind of detached from how that used to be. I mean, he was a player once himself, but he doesn't have a championship or anything. So it's like, other than the one that the Nuggets got him, but as a player, so I don't really know if he, it feels like he's kind of detached from what the reality of what's going on the ground. And the biggest thing is when they're relying so much on the bench, or not able to rely so much on the bench, then now you're playing your starters way more minutes than you need to. You're draining them out, and we're going to have the same outcome as last year if this continues. And none of us want that. Like, it'd be great to be the 1 seed, but if it's going to be at the cost of us being too drained for the playoffs, I'd rather hang back and be a 3 or 4 seed, and then just being able to make it to the finals again would be great. So let's get into the game here. First quarter, the refs weren't giving Yoke the right calls he deserved. Again, like, I don't understand how so many other players get the same calls for them, but then when Yoke does it, they miss them, or they don't care about it or whatever. Like, what is Yoke not doing enough to get him those calls? Because right now he is getting fouled up and down the court, and yet no one's calling anything on for him. I mean, he still gets some calls, and I've noticed he has started to oversell a lot of them now. Like, even tonight, he oversold one of the fouls at the end of the game, and I'll 100% call that he did oversell it. But I mean, at this point, I'm like, who cares? He's not getting them, so why not? Just oversell as much as possible. And then again, like I said, the bench isn't looking good, but a really specific point is that their defense is lacking. The bench's defense was super lacking. Like, Julian Strother was dizzy, I feel like, then when he was trying to guard some of the people on the Nets tonight. They were running loops around him, and he just looked lost. And the bench is clumsy. They get way too many turnovers. They can't handle the ball well. And then when they shoot, they're missing. It's kind of embarrassing, especially when you have such a good starter group. Those core 4, but then also, Brown has stepped up. So I would say all 5 starters are really well put together, and they're an amazing group. It's the rest of the bench that just really needs to step up. The Nets won the first quarter by 13 points. It was, let me see here, 27-40. 27-40. Yeah, that's bad. Then we went into the second quarter. Nuggets started to bounce back a little bit, but still weren't playing much better. Nets, they let the Nets lead get to 17. So now we've had 4 games in a row where the other team gets a plus 15 lead. And now we've only had 2 games where we've been able to battle back and win, but this is not sustainable. Like, we need guys to step up when it counts. We need the bench to be able to step up so that we can rest our starters, and then we can play longer minutes into the game, and just relax a little bit in the fourth. Other teams are getting allowed to do that, but I've also noticed a lot of teams playing their starters right now too. But there's a lot of teams that have good benches. I mean, again, I've said it before, the Nuggets have one of the worst benches in the league. And that's really unfortunate. It's like you just want a good group of players all around, and that's why I'm really jealous of the Celtics. They have a very good first and second unit. The Suns finally have a good first and second unit. They seem to be meshing well. The Mavericks have a good first and second unit. I mean, even the Wolves have a decent second unit. So I don't know. It's just kind of getting tiring, seeing our second unit struggle so much. Eventually, they're going to have to step up. Dario Saric needs to step up. He came in and as the backup 5, and so far he's being unreliable in the regular season. So he needs to step up. He did have a decent game tonight. He went. I'll get into his stats later on, but he did get. What was it? He got 3 points. So I guess that would be without them, we would have still won because we won by 5, and that was only because we allowed them to get a bucket at the end just out of mercy. So one thing I've noticed in so far every single game in the Nuggets regular season here, all 4 games, every team has played the Nuggets as if the Nuggets are the returning champs. Like, they have been super hard and almost playoff kind of like scenarios, and everyone said that we're down and out, but at the same time they're still coming at us like we're the returning champs, and it just kind of I don't know, it's weird. I feel like let me know what you think. Somewhere in the second quarter, the starters were brought back to cut down the lead because, again, the lead had gotten up to like 17. So Coach Malone needed the starters back in to be able to cut it down, and they were the ones that cut it down. And like I've said before, it's not sustainable. Offensive rebounding was non-existent. Once again, it's just a pain point for at least me. I don't know about other Nuggets fans out there, but it's so frustrating when they shoot the ball and then they don't try to rebound their missed shots, and they allow the opposing team to get the rebound. They just hand over the rebound. They don't even try. They just kind of hand it over. Yeah, okay, we'll get it next time. And that's just really exhausting to see as well. Meanwhile, a lot of the other teams, they're still sticking with the play and they're still trying to get those offensive rebounds. That happened several times tonight as well. I think that's a huge point of why the Nuggets fell back 17 points. Because they just weren't attacking the paint area. They weren't trying to get those second chance points, the rebounds and everything. As soon as they got the starters back in, they were able to whittle down a lot of that lead, and they were able to win the second quarter 36-32 in that one quarter, but they were still behind 9 points in the half. The Nets were able to get off threes like it was practice. They weren't contesting any of their threes. Though, I will say, for threes, so the Nuggets made 13 of 27 threes. They had a 48.1 percentage. And despite how many threes the Nets made tonight, they made 20 for 52. So they actually had a 38.5% rating. And so we still had a better rating, even though we made 7 less threes. We made 7 less threes, but we attempted less threes as well. So, they just need to attempt more threes and try to get them in. There were several times where there was, again, a guy open at the 3 behind the arc, and he wasn't shooting. Then in the fourth quarter, there was a great block by AG and to start off the quarter, and I feel like it threw off the Nets a little bit because then the Nuggets went on a little extensive play, and they were got more of that lead down. It was really awesome to see them. But then the bench came back in, and they were ball watching, and they were allowing the Nets to stay in the lead. And so then the Nuggets had to bring back the starters. So yeah, the bench was ball watching. They had to get the starters back in, and the starters were able to whittle down the lead even more. The Nuggets won the third quarter as well. That was 29-26. So not by much, but they did win the quarter, and they were able to get the lead down to 3. So then we get into the fourth quarter, and Westbrook is having himself a night. It went for 22 points and 10 for 10 at the free throw line. Had some major calls that went in favor for the Nuggets. Did also make some unfortunate plays. He missed a really a much needed dunk that would have been amazing as a transition play. But then after that, then Jamal Murray made an awesome dunk to kind of stick it to the Nets because they were chirping a lot at the Nuggets all night. They were being, like I said, they were being very aggressive. Like they had some kind of beef against the Nuggets. And as long as I've been a basketball fan, I have never known the Nets to be aggressive towards the Nuggets. Like we've always had some kind of mutual respect for one another. And all of a sudden this new squad, it just kind of seems like they're different. Like they want to, they have like a chip on their shoulder against the entire league or whatever. And they just want to, they have a bad attitude. But Jamal kind of shut them up with a nice dunk. And then there was a great save from Westbrook. He bounced the ball off of Williams' knee. Allowing us to get another possession, and because that was actually in the Nets' possession, offensive possession, and then they were fighting for the ball, and it bounced out, and Westbrook was able to bounce it back in, which was awesome. And then there was a bad foul by Brown on Thomas, who was shooting a 3-point shot. He ended up being able to make 3 free throws, and Thomas, and like, the guys that are shooting well, you just don't really want to foul them. And I don't know why you would even try to get in the area to risk fouling them. I mean, I'm happy that he was trying to contest the 3-point shot, but at the same time, do it smart. Don't foul him. And then AG had a great needed 3. And Nuggets then ended up winning the fourth quarter. When on the fourth quarter, they won 29-26. So, not by much, but still, we were creeping around, right? And because they won the fourth quarter, they were able to send it into overtime again. And then we get into the overtime, and the Nuggets and Nets, this happened in the beginning of the game, but then it happened in the OT as well, and it was just trading baskets. They weren't getting stops. The Nets were able to get around them. Dennis Schroeder went for 28 points. Jokic had 29. So, like, Schroeder, despite how I don't agree with his game tonight, he still managed to make almost as much points as Jokic did. So, and then Brown got fouled. And it should have been a flagrant foul. 100% it should have been a flagrant, but they didn't call it. It was really stupid. And so it was just, again, another example of how the Nuggets were getting passed on these egregious fouls. But it happens. I'm sure there's going to be some other games further on that the Nuggets will get some kind of egregious foul that isn't called on them. So yeah, let's get into stats here. So if we're looking at the stats, so we got Michael Porter Jr., who went 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. He was 6 for 11 in free throw or in field goal range, 54.5%. He was 4 for 7 in 3 points. He only went to the foul line once and missed his shot. He had 0 turnovers, which was awesome. He had 2 personal fouls. And then Aaron Gordon had 24 points. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 1 block. And he was 8 for 11 in field goals, 1 for 3 in threes, 7 for 7 in free throws. So again, like I said in the last episode, the Nuggets definitely have amped up their free throw shooting. They were, I think, 85%, 83% for free throws tonight, which was just amazing to see. Much needed, and they're working on the things I can tell that are hindering them. 3-point shots, free throws. They're trying to balance out the defense and offense thing right now, and Malone said tonight that this is a group that hasn't really played. I mean, they've played preseason, they've played through camp, but this is their first time trying to play together. And I definitely agree with that, because even though a lot of the players have been in the Nuggets for several seasons now, this is the first time we don't have KCP, and so Christian Brown is now a regular starter. And Julian Strother didn't really play last season, and he's now getting more minutes. Westbrook is new to the team, completely new to the team. His name is Dario Saric. Peyton Watson, he was out with that injury, and so I definitely see that this is a team that's still trying to get acquainted with one another and how they play together. I mean, obviously you have Yoke, who's comfortable with Porter Jr., Gordon, and Murray, and even Brown, but they're all still trying to kind of figure out this new season, and so it's going to be not as pretty of a season, I feel like, as it was last season, or even the season before when we won the championship. So, and then Gordon had 1 turnover and 3 fouls. Yoke had a triple-double. He was 29, 18 rebounds and 16 assists, 1 block. He was 9 for 16 in field goals and didn't make a single 3-point this game. He was 11 for 13 in free throws. He had 1 turnover and 3 personal fouls. Christian Brown was 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 3 for 7 in field goals, 2 for 3 in 3 points, 4 for 6 in free throws, and then he had 4 personal fouls. And then Jamal Murray was 24 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 for 19 in field goals, 2 for 7 in 3 points, 6 for 8 in free throws, and then was one turnover and 3 personal fouls. And then in the bench, we had Strother with 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. He was 3 for 6 in field goals, 1 for 3 in 3 points, and 1 turnover. And then we got to Westbrook. So Westbrook had 22 points off the bench, 1 rebound, 5 assists, 1 steal, 5 for 12 in field goals, and 2 for 2 in 3 points, 10 for 10 in free throws. Like I told you, he had a night tonight. It was really good to see that. He had 1 turnover and 2 personal fouls. And when you're talking about Westbrook, like usually he does get fouled. He fouls more often than other people. But to see that he was one of the lesser fouled Nuggets, or that caused the foul, it's kind of nice to see. Peyton Watson had 7 points, 2 rebounds, and was 3 for 5 in field goals, 1 for 2 in 3 points, and then he had 5 personal fouls. He had the most personal fouls out of anyone. And then Dario Saric, he did play a tad better this game, but not much. He had 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 for 2 in field goals, 1 for 2 in free throws, and that was it. So, in overtime, so the Nuggets won 19-14 in overtime for that. So, they're working things out, and I think that they're going to start to get better. Now, they're facing the Timberwolves on Friday, and it's another back-to-back. So they have 2 days off, and then they're going to go and face the Timberwolves on Friday in Minnesota, and then they fly back and immediately face the Jazz in Denver. The Jazz haven't won a single game. The Timberwolves are 2 for 2, same as the Nuggets. So the Timberwolves are going to be our biggest matchup since the Clippers. And if we're struggling right now to get a win, and we've gone into overtime, it's going to be another struggle against the Timberwolves. And the thing I've started to think about, everyone loves winning, and you don't want to lose. But in a back-to-back, it's really difficult to win two back-to-backs. Like we have this back-to-back that we won, luckily, both games, and now we're going to another back-to-back. But this back-to-back is going to be a little bit more difficult, because whereas this recent back-to-back was Toronto to New York, that's not a far trip. you do have to deal with customs, and they didn't get into their hotels until 3 a.m. But now you're dealing with fatigue or a jet lag, right? You're going from New York all the way over to Minnesota, and then in one day you're going from Minnesota to Colorado, and you're facing one of the top 8 teams in Minnesota, and then you're facing very hungry Jazz in Colorado, who has a good rating at beating the Nuggets in Colorado. So it's not going to be easy. And out of those two, I almost feel like I would rather the Nuggets win against the Jazz than the Timberwolves. As much as I love now whenever the Nuggets win against the Timberwolves, I would love for them to win both games, and I hope that they do. But if they were to lose one, I would rather them lose the Timberwolves game and then go on to defend home, because we have yet to get a home win. And it's very important that we maintain home court. So, let everyone fear Colorado again when they come into Colorado. Know that it's not going to be easy to win there. So big takeaways is just that they're just looking really sluggish. They're trying to figure out everything. And let's hope that they finally get it together. It's been an uphill battle since the postseason last season. So, and just hope that they get the rest within these 2 days that they need, especially Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray almost didn't play tonight. He had a strain in his ankle. I think it was an ankle strain. And so he, he's going to definitely need this time to heal up and rest, and just hopefully he's able to play these next 2 games, and hopefully the bench can be more reliable so that we don't have to play him long minutes. He can get the points that he needs for the Nuggets, and then we can shift his load off to Julian Strawther or Russell Westbrook, which hopefully Brody does a good job these next 2 games as well. And but we'll see. So that's all I got for tonight. Thank you for hanging in there with me, and these back-to-back games. We'll be back on Friday, and we'll see more Nuggets action. So you've been listening to CS 105.1, where I talk about sports and movies with good vibes. We'll catch you later.